All right, so guys, I didn't actually get to part two or get it to upload for me yesterday. So today is going to be a combination of uh, kind of the end of the lesson last time and then going into the next section. We're going to talk about kind of classroom communication. Classroom, I guess it's digital at this point for you all, but what words and phrases do I want you to use to communicate with me as we're going through this year? And the idea is to stay in Spanish as much as possible. So first things first, the second part of what we did yesterday that we didn't get to was this why learn Spanish section. So I'm going to start off here, and as we go through, we'll talk about why learn Spanish and then go into some of our classroom words to get you all speaking as much Spanish as possible and see how that looks digitally. All right, so first things first, Spanish helps your brain. That's one way to say it, not articulate way to say it. But language learners, dual language learners, have improved memory, problem solving, critical thinking, uh, greater creativity. I was telling the students today that one of the huge parts of learning a language and especially speaking it is realizing there's something you want to communicate, realizing you don't have the exact words to say it exactly how you would in your native language. And so then using your brain to access vocabulary that you do know in the second language, how can I use the words that I do know to find another wraparound way to say or to communicate what I am intending to say? Example of this would be, instead of saying like, do you know where the bathroom is? And if you don't know how to say that in Spanish, to say, well, maybe I don't know how to ask, do you know where the bathroom is? But I do know how to say, I need to use the bathroom. Okay. And you can go up to someone and say, necesito el baño, necesito usar el baño. So that's the skill, right? Is thinking what you're trying to communicate and then using your brain to find ways with what you do know to communicate the same message. And that really does build your creativity, ability to problem solve, to multitask. And hold, please. Um, Something really cool about that. I had a coworker of mine who's kind of more of the supervisor at this place that I worked, but he had told me he had 4 strokes, or maybe it was three. He had 3 or 4 strokes, but because he knew German, he was really good at German and English. The doctors had told him that his brain function was able to stay a lot more intact than they typically see, and they attribute it to his brain being able to process 2 different languages. So I thought that was really interesting. I've heard Alzheimer's. I've seen some studies say that Alzheimer's and dementia is diminished or slower to onset in people who know 2 languages as well. So a lot of benefits. Personally, job opportunities. My last 4 jobs that I've had before teaching have I've my ability to speak Spanish helped me get the job or helped me to get paid more. Going back to kind of some of the benefits in the brain, better test scores and decision making. Again, these are some things that have been researched that maybe you guys can do some research on your own, but they have shown that generally speaking, that if you're fluent in 2 languages, that you'll score higher on standardized tests, that you'll be more logical and rational, better decision making. And I think that really comes down to, speaking a second language, you're making those mental decisions of what words to say, pulling those out of your memory and your vocab to use those in real life situations. That helps with that. So I think we've said enough about that. This is what I really want to talk about. Something that I love about learning a language, especially Spanish, and the fact that it is Latin based. Okay. A lot of these Latin words come up in both Spanish and English, as well as in Portuguese and French and Italian. And so really when you're learning Spanish, you're picking up a lot of Latin root words, which will then in turn help you to understand these other romantic languages, as they call them, or words in English that are based in Latin. So here are some examples. Año in Spanish means year. If you remember from last time, I said, ¿Qué significa año? What does año mean? ¿Qué significa? Words that have to do with years in English that start with an are anniversary or annually. So you can see the similarities there. The word for guilty in Spanish is culpable, culpable. And in English, we know that a culprit is someone who's guilty. And for those who didn't know, culpable is actually the same exact word in English and Spanish, meaning the same thing. If you are culpable, that is an English word, you are guilty. In Spanish, it is culpable, but more often we use the word guilty. So we have two words. But that's a word that, hey, if you knew it in Spanish, now you know it in English, okay? Because it's based in the same roots. Another one, con, significa with. So in Spanish, con is with, like conmigo is with me, contigo is with you. So words like connect are things that are together with each other, or to continue. You start here and something that is connected, it's with the first thing that you started. And tons more that we'll discover as the year goes by. Okay, another introductory caveat I like to make, and I'll draw a quick little graph here. Hopefully y'all can see it when I hold it up, is that the ease of learning a language, it's kind of an exponential graph. And I would compare it to this, okay? The easiness of learning a language over time, it starts off down low, like it's difficult. It'll be really difficult at first to pick up the language. You're learning so much vocabulary, grammar, structure. You're pronouncing words that you've never seen before. But as you go along, you'll start to see how words are similar. You'll see patterns in the way verbs are formed and adjectives, and it just will get easier and easier exponentially as you ingrain those patterns into your mind. So especially with Spanish one, you guys got to be paciente. Por favor, ustedes necesitan ser muy pacientes. Be very patient with yourselves because you're building the foundation essentially. But these are just some cool connections that you can make with learning language. Okay, so how you succeed? We're going to do flashcards online. That should be no problem for the distance learners. You guys have a computer, internet connection set up that I'll start posting probably starting next week. That will go along with our vocab. Usually goes along with the lecture. I'll have 20 or so flashcards. Be willing to look silly, okay? I know you guys at home don't have to necessarily speak to anyone out loud. Maybe you have someone at home that speaks Spanish, but at the bare minimum, you can say some things out loud in front of your computer screen. Talk to the wall, talk to your desk, talk to your computer. Just say the words out loud. I promise you, it'll help you get over that shyness, that anxiety of speaking another language and you feel foolish. Just be willing to do that like a child, okay? And we'll get to some more of this later. Okay, read in Spanish. This is stuff we'll get to that that I've planned for this year. So giving you opportunities to read in Spanish, memorize vocabulary, be patient. Like I said, okay, this is what I want to get to here for the end of that first part. So first, the bad news. How much work will I need to do? You can see here, you guys can see the slides here. They're on Canvas, but grown adult has been working in their career maybe for a decade or two. They will have acquired 40,000 to 156,000 words. Now just think of how much time you would have to spend to get that many new words into your skull and into your like onto your tongue to be able to speak them. A long time. The good news is we don't have to learn that many. So going down the list, 18-year-olds, 10,000 to 73,000. 6-year-olds, this is getting more to our range that we're looking for Spanish one. A 6-year-old can talk to you. A 6-year-old can communicate what they need. They might say some silly things and make some mistakes, but they're communicating. And they are only operating with about 5,000 to 32,000 words. Still a lot if you've never touched the language before, right? But they've had 6 years of parents talking to them, reading them books, pointing to pictures, sounds, songs, singing along, all these little things that help you acquire language as naturally as possible. Um, and on this page, this is what we're really shooting for. So active vocabulary for functional fluency, 1,000 to 1,800. Number of different words used daily by a teenager outside of school, 500 to 800. Now that's a little more feasible. You can think, well, we divide 800 words by 9 months of school. You're looking at roughly 100 words per month, 25 a week ish. Really rough guessing here. And that's really my goal for you guys, is to get you up to that 500, 800, 1,000 word mark. I would say if you don't really do any work on your own, if you just kind of sit through class and mildly pay attention and kind of do the things that I suggest, I would say you're probably going to be on this low end, close to 200. Like, you'll pick up the main phrases, the basic stuff. But if you put in that extra work to acquire vocabulary, write down words you don't know, study them, and I'm going to implement some assignments to encourage that I haven't quite done in years past, where you'll basically have 10 words each week that you're responsible for putting into a Google Doc, and they can't be words that I've given you. Like, they can be words that I've said, but it could be something that we read in class, or something you heard on the radio, something you heard on like a Spanish TV show or movie. Someone said like a line in Spanish, like, oh, what was that? That way you're training your brain to hear words that you hear in real life, then look them up later. And because those words were used in real life, you're more likely to hear them again. They're more likely to be the words that you actually need to know, as opposed to, hey, here's 700 words just random in the dictionary, right? So look for that. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of that part. Again, we did this with our class the first day, and then at the end we had to make a poster with a group just saying, okay, what are your goals? What are your expectations? So I invite you guys that are at home, take a second, either write them down, think them out. What are your specific goals for Spanish? How many words do you want to have memorized by the end of the year? And not only memorized, but to be able to string them together into sentences. What is it going to take to be able to do that? What are your expectations for me, for others? Less relevant for you at home. That's more for the people who are in the classroom. And what topics do you want to see covered and learned? You can see an overview of the topics on the syllabus or on the disclosure statement in Canvas. I have at the very bottom, scroll down. It goes unit by unit, talks about the vocab that we're going to hit and the grammar. So those are things we'll cover, but if there's anything specific, go take a second to think about those things. And we will jump on to the next part of the lesson today.